Nick Gurney, Director of Telecommunications at BAI Communications Australia, sat down with Brendan O'Reilly, BAI's Group Chief Technology Officer, during his recent visit to Sydney. Here, Nick and Brendan discuss BAI's growth aspirations in Australia and how government can achieve transformative outcomes through public-private partnerships, leveraging BAI's local and international expertise.
Hey Brendan, great to have you here in Sydney. Thank you for making the trip down. What are your impressions so far?
Really enjoyed being here so far. I spent some great time with the team, spent some great time with some customers, and it's a wonderful city. It's changed a lot since I was last here. It's been 16 years, but it's great to be back.
Yeah, well, we're making a lot of changes here at BAI. In Australia, we're really known as a provider to the broadcast industry with ABC and SBS, regional TV and radio. Plus, we provide critical communication services for the New South Wales government, running the public safety network. We also work with the telcos with passive network infrastructure on our towers. But globally, we are just doing extraordinary things in the telecommunications market. Some of the major things that we've announced over the last years are Transport for London and a smart city program in Sunderland. I'd like to understand a little bit more about, where is the magic here in terms of BAI getting to work with those customers, and where are we in the program?
Sure. To be honest with you, I think a big part of the BAI magic is Australia. I think the fact that you're talking to a company that has been around for 100 years, has a great track record of delivering for big customers, big infrastructure projects, is a big part of why we were successful in New York and Toronto and then London. So I think the history that is provided is part of the legacy of BAI Communications Australia. I then think to what is it that makes that real magic happen, and I think it comes down to being truly neutral host. Only a neutral host could do something like TfL, where you've got 4 operators, 5, 6 FNOs who all need a service in London.
What's an FNO?
A fixed network operator.
Oh, right,
so
right.
Fibre providers who are looking for service as well, and then managing all those street level assets. Wi-Fi network underground. You really need somebody who you can trust to deliver for all parties, and that's part of our magic. I mentioned the legacy from working in other cities. The work that the guys did in Toronto and New York obviously contributed to that, and we've got an amazing engineering arm in Hong Kong. So a truly global player with an amazing track record and trusted to deliver for many parts is probably the reason why we were successful.
Right. So we bring that expertise coupled with the industry expertise, the engineering expertise, but also the commercial expertise to bring that together. And I understand they're both 20-year concessions. So what's the, the critical success factor about having a long-term concession?
It comes down to driving value for all. So, take TfL or Sunderland, what they're looking for are outcomes. TfL, it may well be help them bridge the funding gap that has been in the news recently and helping to deliver a more efficient service. For Sunderland, it's about delivering for their citizens over a long period of time, whether that be socio-economic care or whether that be education, whether that be helping businesses come into the area and becoming a real attractive place for technology companies. It's about the outcome, and it's hard to drive long-term outcomes in 3-5 years, right?
Yeah. No, got it. Smart cities is something that the industry's been talking about for 20, 30 years now. It's great to see that they're actually becoming real. And there are real social and commercial outcomes emerging. So do you want to go into a little bit more detail about what we're actually doing and what the outcomes are starting to look like?
Yeah, so in Sunderland, we're helping them build a citywide network, private network, so they can provide services to their citizens. And that was, it was a difficult conversation at the start because they were looking for a ubiquitous network. But by working with them really closely, what we've agreed to do is fill in some of the gaps that are there from commercial networks. So what we're doing is taking the best of what enterprises are doing, and then filling in some of those gaps. We're also providing a LoRaWAN network to drive sensors across and drive real IoT benefits across the city. And what that means now, and the reason why we can see it's successful, is we're being approached by a number of different parties about private networks for, there's a new, it's called Culture House. It's a brand new sort of like council building where they're going to provide adult education services, social care services, education services, like a real sort of town hall on, on a giant scale.
Right.
And we're talking to them about how can we leverage a private network so that, nobody gets lost. If you're doing adult education and somebody is meant to go to a certain room and they get lost, can we use facial recognition technology to make sure that they get to the right place and make sure that they don't become concerned because they've gone into the wrong room. So there's loads of these sorts of factors that we're driving, and that's the really exciting part for me. I'm a technologist and I'm an engineer, and it's great when we talk about networks. When you talk about outcomes, real outcomes for citizens and consumers, that's where I think smart cities are being really focused.
And I think that's something that, in terms of takeaways for other people that are considering smart cities, is that out of the 10,000 great ideas that people have when you think about a smart city, we're actually building up a library of use cases that have commercial or social outcomes that make sense.
And not just that, a smart, there was this great use case that I read a company did in, I think it was Vegas. It was about vehicle recognition to make sure that people went the right way in Vegas. And, that's great, but why can't we do that to help ensure that traffic is eased in a city like Sunderland? Or so it's not just, you think about one use case and that outcome, the same use case could have a different outcome for somebody else. And spending real time on R&D, which, a company we acquired recently, Villicom, one of their big things is how can they do R&D in a way that allows them to look at what's out there already and see, is there another flavour of that we can use for our customers? Right.
So from a selfish perspective, here in Australia, we're building up this tremendous base of knowledge and experience and capability, both in TfL and in Sunderland. How do you see us being able to bring that to life here in Australia? I mean, what are the things that we need to do, the government, the rest of industry?
It's about partnerships, and it's about collaboration. Industry collaboration is an important one, and if I go back to what I said at the start, BAI Australia has the trust of its customers. If the service goes wrong that you provide to your customers, people don't get service, and it's noticeable. And when you're working in that sort of environment where your every move is under scrutiny, you learn to build trust. And the role that we have now is to ensure that trust goes out further, whether it be telcos, whether that be cities and municipalities, to ensure that they know they can trust us to provide service. Then it's about funding. A lot of the big programs that we've spoken about, whether that be TfL or Sunderland, or think about sharing, rural sharing as a point. They do need funding because there's a reason why there's no service there today, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the role of government comes in and being serious about funding. And then lastly, once the infrastructure's there, is there another enterprise that can come in? Is there another partner that come in and help drive a different commercial model? So collaboration and partnership is absolutely at the forefront of where success for not just BAI, but for Australia will be.
Yeah. It seems to be very clear to me that for big outcomes and transformational outcomes in cities and complex environments like TfL, public-private partnerships are the way to go. And we're really looking forward to using that expertise and bringing that here to Australia and bringing those outcomes to the country. So
I think, just to sort of finish from my point of view, I think the history that BAI Australia and the legacy that you built to allow the rest of the group to be successful in other markets, we can take that learning of how great, we deliver for telcos across the world, and hopefully help you be successful.
Well, that's right. I think the new BAI in Australia is not only continuing to do what we do here incredibly well, but bringing the best of our global capability to Australia and really transforming the industry. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Thank you.
Thank you.